G'day. Hey, Jim Harry here. You know, relationships with people with BPD, relationships with people with NPD. Many people in their lives have relationships with a parent that has BPD or BPD NPD, or, a parent that has NPD, or maybe for some people, like myself, I had a mother with comorbid BPD, still do actually, no contact, and a father that was a dark triad. So that's malignant narcissism, psychopathy, being a psychopath, and the probably, and Machiavellianism, but I also believe includes, sadistic personality. So really, what I'm just here to talk about in this video is the super reality that a lot of people know about already, but a lot of people might not be facing yet, or getting through, or still trying to recover from, whether it's a parent. So for a lot of people, it starts off with a parent. You might not realize until much later, you might, or not everybody with codependency in these patterns with cluster Bs have a cluster B parent, but so many people do. So often it starts there. And then the next thing you know, you're in a relationship. Maybe your first, this happens to a lot of people. The first relationship could be a borderline or a narcissist, or somebody with BPD, NPD. And then sometimes people go on from that relationship and or marriage, get divorced, move on to the next person in the course of life. So many people out there have been with more than one cluster B. So maybe somebody with BPD in a relationship, then somebody with narcissistic personality disorder, then maybe again somebody with BPD. These are people that usually codependency severely, and because they have a cluster B parent. So this is one aspect of it for people. It's not the same for everybody by any stretch of the imagination. But the chaos, the drama, the stress of all of that, and the way that people with codependency tend to take that on as if somehow, like with all other things talking about codependency, somehow like you're going to fix it, somehow like you're going to change it, somehow like you're going to get heard or be seen or get understood. And here's the really, people know this. Like, I'm not saying anything brand new under the sun here, but I want to reiterate it for people to think about today. And people are always finding videos brand new to this, figuring out what's going on in their lives, what has been going on, whether significant other, ex, parent, coworker, boss, friend, or all of those things. Some people have this really unfortunate codependent pattern, if you had a cluster B parent in particular, that will just go on throughout all relationships. And the stress of that, as I don't have to tell people who can relate to this, is beyond unbearable, just beyond. And so what people have to really know about this is to recognize, if you haven't already, your codependency. And as I'm always saying, to balance out the focus on them, and are you getting into your own healing recovery journey? But even let's take a step back. So there are so many people out there right now that are having so much difficulty in their lives, but maybe starting, if you're here, you probably know more about it. But there's so many people out there that are still struggling. No matter how much they do know or understand about this, they can't get out of the repetition compulsion patterns of codependency that obviously go in that unhealthy bond with the repetition compulsion patterns in both BPD and NPD. And I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but there are so many people out there who are still going back to the cluster B or a series of cluster Bs in your life, whether they're borderlines or narcissists. Could be a psychopath too, could be a dark triad. But the point is, it's this continued trying to seek what isn't there. This happens for so many people. And then maybe people are, in a place right now where that's not what's happening. But then there's the Hoovers and the reverse Hoovers and, the recycling of relationships and the trying to understand it. And, I guess I'm just here to say the obvious in this video. It's all just impossible. Impossible to fix, impossible relationships to have, whether it's your parent, your partner, whatever relationship type, or your ex. People really need to focus on their own healing. But to do that, you have to get out of the relationship or relationships if there's more people than one in your life. I don't mean more. You would have one significant other, but you might have a parent, you might have a sibling that also has BPD or NPD. You need to get out of all those relationships. That's something that can be pretty tough to do all at once. Something I had to do years ago, kind of all at once. It just, with a family of origin, just, went no contact. And kind of that involves everybody. And people with untreated BPD and people with NPD, these patterns are so ingrained. Make no mistake about it. So are the patterns of those with codependency, different patterns. But then it's that horrible dance in the middle. It isn't a dance. It's, but it's this always, for a lot of people, not always, but consistently going back, whether it's just communication, whether you're just trying to co-parent with that ex-narcissist, ex, or the BPDX, or it's a family member, or something else happens. Lots of people right now, various ages, maybe could be somebody younger, but 40s, 50s, and beyond, are struggling with the idea that if they have a cluster B parent, somehow they're going to end up being in the caretaker role. And people do that. People feel like they're supposed to. So what I want you to think about today, in whatever part of this you can resonate with, or maybe not all of, sort of what I'm saying about people who have multiple relationship types, with people with BPD and or NPD or comorbidity both at times, and also have significant other, from one to another often, but one is more than enough, isn't it? So people with codependency need to look at the patterns and how do they go back to your childhood. But most importantly right now, I've seen some comments on the channel recently too that are very interesting, because people think that people with BPD, or even the narcissist, erroneously people think that when they are attracted to you, when they've chosen you, when they picked you, when the relationship started, and maybe now it's years later, or it could be just a little, it could be not long-term, long way into it. You need to realize there's nothing special. And I don't mean to put anybody down by any means, no. But it's not because you have something special that they're going to choose you. Like sort of going back to a video I did about, are they going to try to seek a partner, the borderline? They're going to try to seek a partner that's going to be more like the self that they want to be or used to be, because they never used to be a self, except for some time in infancy or prior to the age of 2. So people with codependency struggling with so much false hope, because here's what I want you to think about. When you are, I would say, severely codependent, which isn't everybody, but even, mid-range, significantly or severely codependent, all these ideas of false hope, all these ideas still, even when people are out of relationships and they're sort of no contact, but it's not that complete no contact, people are just continually thinking somehow something can change, magically, somehow. And I don't mean to insult anybody. It's just this false hope is what it is. And it's also, like I've said before, it's the pursuit of chasing a parent that didn't meet your needs in childhood. Why this borderline or narcissist in your life right now? Or even if you've got to being, the relationship is broken up, but you still, people can't get over it like that. And the other reason why it takes so darn long to get over it is because it goes back to something deeper. And I know I'm giving this message often, but what I just want people to be aware of right now, because maybe you are one of these people out there, that you've got a cluster B parent or both parents, and that you've been maybe in a series of relationships with a borderline, then a narcissist, then a narcissist, then a borderline. And a lot of people have this going on in their lives, they really do, and they don't understand why, But, I talk to clients all the time. They're starting to see patterns and understand things, but their focus is understandably still on multiple cluster Bs in their lives. Sometimes it's co-parenting situations, and maybe with more than one X. And what's really compelling about that is, how are people with codependency going to find their way to the change that you really need? Because the stressors in these relationships are just so multi-layered, so multifaceted, but among them is not only the psychological stress and distress and the emotional, upheaval and agony, but this can affect your physical health as well. And I've been talking to so many clients, not just recently, over the 30 plus years, they may already have really negative health consequences, or they're just starting to experience, and a wide variety of different things, but some way more serious, some that aren't going to just be able to be brought under control or resolved when people get out of the relationships and get into their healing recovery journey. So just know, if you're living, or you've always been living, in a world of chaos since childhood and in your adult life with a partner or more than one partner, one after, like you went to the next relationship, and with other people in your life, whether you're aware of it or not yet, you're going to totally be so lost to yourself, because you are trying to, you're worried about what all these people think of you, and you're trying so hard to please everybody else and just keep the peace. And are you aware of how much the borderline, untreated, or the narcissist is knocking you down? Narcissists triangulating, people with BPD just needing you so friggin' much and trying to call it love. The impossibility for people with codependency of these relationships, in any relationship type, is what you really got to start to think more about and realize. And understand that, there's compelling questions like why? Why did this person, or the partner, or the ex, or the parent, or the friend, or the sibling, why do they always do this, that, the other thing? What's at the bottom of this for you as a codependent, if you're still in any one of these kind of relationships, let alone multiple ones in your life, as many people are, is that you have a dysfunctional, unhealthy relationship to yourself, not your fault, happened in your childhood. It's what you need to heal now, though. And you need to know that you deserve so much more than chaos and drama and heartache and pain and frustration and never being seen and never being heard. And make no mistake about it, for people with codependency, you have an addiction. You have repetition compulsion cycles to this very pattern that sets you up. Your own codependent pattern of your own agony and what you've already been through, going all the way back to childhood, sets you up equally as much as if you feel set up by a narcissist. Or people with BPD are not working a setup. Not all narcissists are either. But I can't stress enough today, if you're codependent and you're still in relationships that are active, parent with cluster B, partner or ex, or friend, or maybe more than one of these at a time, you really need to stop, sit down, hopefully watch more of my videos on codependency, and there'll be more coming. And you need to ask yourself, what is it about me that I don't know? What is it about me, meaning you, that you don't like, consider, give enough attention or time to? Why is it never about you? And yet you're trying so hard to get your needs met, maybe subconsciously, so that it is about you, like that part, but nothing ever comes back to you. And you keep giving and giving and giving, and you're just getting hollowed out. You're just getting absolutely emptied out and absolutely beyond people's awareness with codependency, hollowed right out. So, as I've ended a lot of videos before, I want to say to you again today, if any of this applies to you, but there are people out there that can relate to this multiplicity of cluster Bs in their life in all different relationship types. It's a pattern that you need to get into healing and recovery for, or it's not going to stop. And it can be this severe for people. And so to quote anybody that resonates with this, even in part, but like if you're somebody who's got all this chaos drama going on times 2, 3, 4, 5, because you're co-parenting with maybe 2 exes that were cluster B. Maybe you have a parent that's cluster B, etc. What about you? When is it going to be time for you? And may I also just say one more time and reiterate for you guys, if you're codependent, you're having trouble going no contact, trying to get into therapy, and a healing recovery journey, and I'm out here to work with you if I resonate with you. I help people get through this. I help people heal from the relationships with cluster Bs, and any relationship type, and to heal your codependency. I can help you find you. I can help you solve the riddle of why you continue to follow certain codependent repetition compulsion patterns of externalizing out in a way that seeks reparation for all kinds of pain and agony, but in a way that you're not going to get met, seen, or heard. You're going to continue to be hurt and hurt more, and reparation is never coming your way from these cluster Bs. You're never going to get closure from them. You can work in your own, like when I work with clients, we work on closure. That's possible to do in your own healing and recovery journey. That so many people are hanging around because of why, or not, or just, because you don't know what else to do and you don't know how to break those patterns. So if this resonates with you today, just know that one of the hardest things for people with significant to severe codependency to do is to take a look at themselves, is to really make a change in your life for yourself, and to get into a healing recovery process so you can know yourself better. And what I really want to say about that is I really know, like when clients come to me, some are more ready, some are more eager to get into that, focus on self, but it isn't going to be easy. It's going to be challenging, but it's so rewarding. So if you're still running from yourself today and all of what we describe as all this other stuff going on with a borderline, a narcissist, maybe even a psychopath, maybe comorbidity of borderline, NPD, and it's just so compelling and you just can't stop yourself. There's impulsivity and codependence as well. So think about it today and just know that there's never going to be a time where it feels right. And I have so many clients say to me, and yes, when they book sessions with me, they're starting down a journey. This is a good thing, right? But they'll just say, they'll tell me their whole history, etc. And they'll say, I don't know what to do, because they still have the patterns, right? And they're like, but I just can't take it anymore. Are you somebody out there today with codependency, or you may not realize it yet, but it's significant or severe, and you're at that place already or beyond, sorry, I can't take it anymore? When are you going to turn to reach out to somebody for therapy? When are you going to turn to that process, take that action before it's never going to feel right? It's never going to feel easy. It's very, very difficult. When are you going to make that choice for yourself? Or if you've made it and you're not continuing, or you've gone back to the ex, or whatever's going on, or you're trying to leave an ex. I work with people wherever they are. And I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to help you out. So please think about this, because people don't realize how much it's going to affect you in the entirety of your life. You're losing yourself more and more to whatever your involvement is in the chaos and the drama and that Stockholm Syndrome aspect of everything that can start for a lot of people in childhood. So if this resonates with you even a little bit, codependents need to get into the action of their own healing and recovery. Even if you're still with a borderline or narcissist, or still in touch with your, BPD or NPD or whatever parent, you gotta start somewhere. And that somewhere involves you making a new choice today. So I hope for your sake, if you haven't made that choice yet, you'll think about it more. Don't think about it too long, though. More importantly, people with codependency need to get into action. So if that's food for thought or helpful, take care. Gotta make sure you hit the right button.